Hello, BirdBot community. I just wanted to give a quick update because we reached a pretty big technical milestone. This is about 2 years in the workings. A lot of architecture and infrastructure needed to be set up to facilitate our update today, but I am happy to announce that we have a fully integrated payment system with the Algorand network. So we have a method for essentially acquiring machine learning data on a edge device, whether that be a camera or a sensor. Right now it's a camera. And then we can send that data to our backend database. Currently right now it's an Excel spreadsheet, but it'll eventually migrate to something way more secure like an SQL database or something. And then we can read that data via a couple of automation scripts and servers, and I can just go through that today. So without quick introduction, I'm going to run through a couple of slides, and hopefully that can give a little bit more of a rundown of what actually is going on, and then I can show you how we're doing this, and share a little bit more about the process. So yeah, to those of you that don't know, I'm Tyler Odenthal. I am the co-founder of BirdBot, and we are building a Web3 wildlife monitoring camera that is going to empower birding communities and community science communities to access Web3 and interact with Web3 using our token called Birds. The main reason that we are, using a token is because crowdsourcing data is a huge bottleneck to a lot of projects, specifically machine learning projects, and, conservation and community good projects in general have, this engagement issue. So providing a incentive tool, whether that be, US dollars, which is often the case through grants, or whether it be a cryptocurrency, is coming to be a pretty good solution. So yeah, that's BirdBot. Little quick rundown of that. So why should you be interested in birding? I'm not going to go too much into detail because I do want to get on to a couple of the other slides, but birding's huge. It's a $51 billion market. And there's a thing called ecosystem services, which it's essentially what does wildlife do for humans, which is a crude way to put it, but that's kind of what it is. What do the fish populations do for humans? Well, they provide sustenance through, cultivating cleaner rivers, and, we can use them as a food source. So when you lose those ecosystems or those ecosystem services, how much does it cost humans to repair that system? A lot. So that's just one sector of why BirdBot's important. And then birding in general, a lot of people just spend money on, camera equipment, traveling for birding. It's a pretty unspoken community, but it's quite well off and very passionate. So just if we can even access the birding market, it'd be insanely impactful. And these are core focuses of BirdBot. So BirdBot really wants to aim to bring birding into the 21st century, and using Web3 is one way to do that. We're also using machine learning, and we're combining that with a cryptocurrency token. So, the Birds token, which operates on the Algorand network, is one of the ways that we're going to be bringing birding into the 21st century. And yeah, that's one of our main goals is, to upgrade trail cameras and really advance the technology of, wildlife conservation and wildlife monitoring, because we have looked at the trail cam technology and noticed that it can be improved. So BirdBot aims to do that. And this is the main reason why I'm making the video today, is because we now have a method to essentially pay people for acquiring our niche data set, or helping us acquire our niche data set, which is a wildlife data. It's we want to create a means, much like how Planet Watch is creating a means to acquire air quality data. We want to create a methodology for crowdsourcing wildlife data. And that data comes from, bird watchers, teachers, research institutions, people like you that are going to be watching this video, this is where the data is going to be coming from. You're going to be able to set up a wildlife camera, hopefully a BirdBot camera, and it'll be able to use the machine learning to interact with our database. And funny enough, I get to show you that database later today. And yeah, all this data is going to be coming from all of these different data points. And it's very impactful because the more wildlife data and the more eyes we have on the conservation problem, the easier it is to be aware of the problems that exist and to solve those problems. So collecting this niche data is very, very important. This is just a little bit of our GUI, our graphical user interface mockup. It's changed a little bit. I'll get an updated photo of that. Its current mode has a config window. It has run real time mode still, but there's a bar to enter in your Algorand address. There's a connect Algorand or a connect wallet button. So yeah, it looks a little bit different than it does here, and hopefully a little bit more clean. There's also the statistics that you see on the screen will be widgets that are built into the GUI. So we're starting to run mocks of, the widgets that might potentially be integrated into the GUI. But yeah, that's kind of a little mock-up. And this is pretty much the meat and potatoes of what I set up, or, what we've been working on setting up for the past, since the project's been around. We need a methodology or, this circular process to facilitate data capture. So the top bubble is, people watch the camera, they set up BirdBot cameras. That BirdBot camera is equipped with, an AI machine learning model that can identify birds. When the camera notices a bird, that data is sent back to our backend database, whether that be an Excel database or SQL database or, Postgres, whatever. Our data is sent back to a database. And then for sending that data to our backend plus the photo, we will log that photo or that data capture in our database, which will then be used to improve the model. And then it'll incentivize people to essentially continue data capture. So when the data is sent to our database, it's logged how many birds is awarded to that wallet. And then it'll be later used to send out tokens every 24 hours. A little bit complex, but I'll be able to, talk more about this process now, because this is essentially what we've been building towards for years. We need a methodology for setting up the camera. We need, once when the data is sent, we need a methodology for, paying out the tokens. And to, over the past week, we developed the methodology for setting up a service to scrape the database and, pay out tokens. So let's bump into that. So here is our really, really simple Excel database. And today what you're looking at is just the log. Let's see if I can zoom in. Cool. Yeah, we zoomed in quite a bit. So what is this? This is a log of today's seen birds from my balcony cam. So you can see that here's the camera name, the BirdBot camera, and I've named it Tyler Balcony Cam. You can see the Algorand wallet that I've tied to the balcony camera. You can see the bird species that triggered the capture. Obviously, it's pretty similar species. Black-capped chickadees and Stellar's jays and dark-eyed juncos. These are bird feeder species, so we're not going to get like super diverse, but as far as diversity goes in the Pacific Northwest around bird feeder species, there's around 20 different types of birds that you could potentially see coming to your bird feeder, which is pretty diverse, but it's not as diverse as being somewhere in like the Caribbeans or the tropics that have like maybe hundreds of different types of hummingbirds or something. But side note, here's the Algorand wallet, here's the birds earned, here's the time that it came in, here's the triggered species, here's the array So the species array that was seen. So sometimes you can see that there's 45 birds earned across like 4 logs. And you're like, oh, why didn't it increment? Like, why didn't the value increase? Well, this is because during this initial bird that was seen, 3 more birds came. So at 37 a.m., the first red-breasted nuthatch came, and then another red-breasted nuthatch came into the screen. And then, 2 seconds later, a chestnut-backed chickadee came into the screen. And then, about 9 seconds later, a dark-eyed junco came into the screen. So you can imagine that this type of capture was multiple birds in one sighting. And you can see that in the array. By the time that this last one gets logged, you can see that red-breasted nuthatch, chestnut, blah, blah, blah. But normally, if like a sighting is one after the another, you would only see it like as a singular array, like one after the another, and you can see it increment properly. So essentially, this is just like storing up 20 birds tokens earned for the next sighting, which you can see happened right there. Eventually, there's going to be a ton of charts and stuff that is currently not built. That's built on my other database, but it doesn't really matter because this is the online one. So it's connected to an API. So anytime that the BirdBot camera on the balcony sees a bird, it can send a post, an HTTP post to an API that I've constructed on Power Automate. And I won't go too much into how Power Automate works or what even Power Automate is. But it is a automation software that Microsoft runs, and it allows you to set up automation servers to do certain services. So I set up an API to accept BirdBot data. So anytime that, a bird comes on the screen, we can actually see like about 2 seconds ago, a bird came in and it just got put in here. Maybe if we're lucky, I can come back in a little, see another one just popped in. So this is how I facilitated creating the API to put data in real time into my, BirdBot Excel database. And why this is important is because we can also use Power Automate to get the data from the database. So I'm not going to run this, and you can see that like I was testing it. But long story short, this is a automation server that you can construct on Microsoft's backend. That is, a graphical tool that allows you to build processes. So this one I have set up to run at 7:50 p.m. every day. And then what it does is it grabs data from this Excel spreadsheet. And then it creates a ton of variables. It loops through all of the wallets that are currently tied to this Excel spreadsheet. Cool, another chestnut-backed chickadee came in. And it loops through all of these wallets. And then it will filter it down to the unique wallet addresses through this union process. Doesn't really matter. It'll just get this one wallet because there's only one wallet in here at the moment. And then what it'll do is it'll look up all of the earned birds transactions. So it'll re-look up all of the transactions that this wallet had using filtering. And then it'll only grab the max birds earned. It'll only take the row that has the max birds earned. And then what it'll do is it'll check if it's greater than 1,000. This is just a failsafe to if people figure out the API and want to try to cheat it. It won't allow you to. It'll always set the max to 1,000 at the moment, and that number will adjust accordingly over time. Eventually, this will be fully automated, so we don't have to even adjust, the max limit. The max limit will adjust over time automatically. Right now, this is just, an automation server that I set up. Eventually, it'll probably be ran on an Azure server, and it'll be ran in unattended mode. So essentially, we don't even have to touch it. And then when it gets the filtered data and the filtered wallet and the amount of birds that it should pay, when it sets the final birds earned, it will send it to a Power Automate desktop script, which is a totally different script that I don't even need to talk about, but it runs the payment process for the BirdBot payment system. And then when the BirdBot payment system runs successfully, it'll say, okay, go back to the table that you have, go back to the Excel database, and then log that you sent those transactions. So it'll log that, yeah, I did yesterday send, money to this address. And it looks like I ran it a couple times. So I was probably just testing, but it's like, yeah, I did, send the transaction to this address, and here's our transaction IDs. If you want to check it, so you just do that. Whoops. Actually, I probably got to do this. Yep, one sec. We do this. And we do that. Tartar sauce. But yes, it logs the transaction ID, so we can just check one of those transaction IDs. And yep, the dev wallet sent, 0 birds. I don't know why it sent 0 birds. It was probably supposed to send 1,000, but I think I debugged that last night. And it sent birds to the test address. And you can see that it was supposed to send 1,000 birds to the test address. And it did, not necessarily on that one, but if we look at, let's just grab the other one, because like I said, I think I debugged the 1,000 issue. Yep, cool. It sent 330 birds to our team address, which is also just another test address. And you can see that it was supposed to send, 330 birds to the team address based on yesterday's readings, and it did. So I know there's a ridiculous amount of information that's going on right here. But the main idea is that we can use Power Automate in conjunction with machine learning to dump data into a database. And when that data is dumped into this log, we can read that data using a server, whether it be Power Automate. We use Power Automate. We use Power Automate as a reoccurring autonomous server that will read this database. It'll get the wallet addresses that need to be paid, and it'll pay those respective amounts. And then it'll log that into its payment log, and then it'll log the transaction IDs. And then the last cool thing that it does, actually, we could just look at a quick demo of this. Cool, there's a dark-eyed Junko over there. It's not necessarily showing up, but you can see that all the logs coming through. And cool, it actually, let's see if that log came through. And it did. Cool. So it thinks that there is a dark-eyed Junko there. Thinks there's a northern flicker. There's no way there's a northern flicker. Oh, I mean, maybe it just got scared off. But there was definitely a chestnut-back chickadee and a dark-eyed Junko right there, because we just saw it. And we can come down here, dark-eyed Junko, and then it probably, I don't know. So it is right. It's totally right. We just had to wait for the stream to catch up. And yeah, there is a northern flicker there, so that's kind of cool. And we can see that it came directly through in the database. So yeah, it's totally connected. And the cool thing is that when the payment process goes out, you all will be notified on Twitter. So if I go to Twitter, and cool, our little northern flicker's there, beautiful little guy. You'll be notified, it's currently at 8 p.m. every day, that this little message will go out. And it'll tell you how many accounts are awarded, how many total birds went out. It'll also give you the dev address, which is where all the tokens are going out from. So you can see that, tokens went out. And yeah, I did fix that 0 bird issue for some reason, which is really funny. And yeah, and then you can view our database on our website. This will also get more complex as I get a better web dev. I don't have time to essentially make web widgets, but All this data should feed into nice charts and web widgets and such, but maybe once when I get funding, we can hire someone to make beautiful widgets and make use of this data, and show how many cameras are running and how many birds are earned and keep a running scale and such. But yeah, that was my briefish update. I tried to keep it somewhat concise, but I can see that it went 20 minutes long, but there was a lot of information. Just know that we now have a fully integrated payment system. The BirdBot cameras can easily connect to a backend database. That database can be read by an Algorand payment system. That payment system is connected to PureStake API, and it runs via Power automation servers, and it's pretty much fully autonomous. The only bottleneck would be if Power Automate shuts down, and that's the only way that it's going to stop running. So I don't think Power Automate's going anywhere. It's ran by Microsoft. Microsoft's doing okay. So yeah, payment processing system is good to go, and I encourage you to check back in at 8 p.m. PST, so Pacific Standard Time. And if everything is successful, you should see one account being paid. I don't know, probably 1,000 tokens. It should get up to around 1,000 tokens. It's currently at 125 birds earned, but there's 5 birds earned per bird on the camera, so hopefully it gets to 1,000 by the end of the day. But yeah, thank you for your time. If you guys stuck around and watched, maybe hit that sub button. I will be producing more videos about BirdBot, and we will have more cameras running in unique locations relatively soon. So thank you very much. Catch you next time.